Hello, everyone, and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. So today I'm doing something a little bit different, and you may have seen that I posted on my channel that I recently hit 50k subscribers. Yay! So thank you so much to everyone who subscribed. I never would have thought that when I first started my YouTube channel. So I am so thankful to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. And as part of hitting 50k subscribers, I put a little post up on my YouTube and on my social media saying to submit questions and I will answer your questions to celebrate me hitting 50k. And it's taken a little bit of time for me to actually find the time to make this video, but now I'm here. So what I'm going to do is I've got a bunch of your questions. I couldn't go through all of them, unfortunately, but I've just picked some questions and I'm going to talk about them and give you the answers. Maybe some tea, who knows? And yeah, let's see what happens. So the first question was from Elle, and they said, "Congrats, Matt, very deserved." Thank you very much. They said, "My question for you is, what is your favorite part of doing YouTube? Is it the filming, editing, creation process, or something else?" Well, that's a very good question, Elle. Thank you very much. So I guess for me, it's kind of everything. I literally do every part of my videos. I do all of the research, the script writing, recording, editing, uploading, thumbnails, literally everything I do myself. I'm not a content farm like some people might think. It is literally just me. I'm a real person. I guess for me, the part that I enjoy the most is probably coming up with ideas and the research, because quite often I find some really interesting stuff that I didn't know about Drag Race while I'm researching for a video. So that actually I think would probably be my favorite part. And the next question comes from Caitlin, who said, "Congrats." Thank you, Caitlin. What's been your all-time favorite Snatch Game performance? Oh, this one's a tough one because there have been some great Snatch Games and maybe some not so great ones as well. I think for me, the one that sticks out in my head would be probably quite a recent one, actually. So for me, I think it's All Stars 7, Jinx Monsoon doing Judy Garland. I just thought it was so good. Like, Jinx really nailed it. The look, the voice, the jokes, like, it was so funny. It was such a spot on impersonation plus the comedy. And obviously Jinx both times in All Stars 7 and also her original Snatch Game as Little Edie was also so funny. So, I mean, obviously Jinx is incredibly talented and really funny. So I think, yeah, Jinx as Judy Garland is probably going to go down in my history as being the best Snatch Game. So the next question comes from Kyle the Ghost Hunter, which is a very interesting name, on Instagram. And they said, "When did you first start watching Drag Race?" Which is a great question. Where did this all start? So I actually got into Drag Race quite late. I think I probably started watching when season 8 or 9 was coming out or was on TV. And I actually started watching season 4 was the first season I sort of went back and watched it. It was on Netflix. And then I sort of got hooked and just binge watched all of the seasons before that. And then obviously up to the seasons that were already on. And then obviously I've been hooked ever since. So yeah, I've been watching probably since season 8 or 9, but I actually have watched all of the seasons multiple times now because it's my favorite show, which you may have guessed from the fact that I have a channel dedicated to RuPaul's Drag Race. But yeah, it's an amazing show. I love it. And I can probably quote every single part of the show. I'm a massive super fan. So the next question comes from Twitter, and it's from Seamus, I think is the name. And they said, "What made you want to start the channel and which video/interview would you love to remake?" That's a great question. Thank you. So the first part of the question was, what made you want to start the channel? So I'm not sure if I've actually ever talked about this on the channel, but when I first started the channel, those of you who've been with me from the start will remember that my channel was originally just text and no voiceover, just text and pictures. And I kind of did it because I'd seen a few other creators who I'd watched for a long time. So, for example, I used to watch, or still do, Joseph Shepherd with the interviews. I love Joseph. And like Drag Detective, Jack Fed. Like, there were quite a lot of Drag Race creators. And there were also lots of other videos about Drag Race. And because I watched all of the interviews, I thought, well, I probably know a lot of maybe backstage tea or things that people don't know about who's just the casual viewer. But because I'm a giant super fan and I watch all the interviews, I look at all the social media posts, I thought just put out this video because I thought, well, people might be interested in these facts about Drag Race that maybe you didn't know. And my first video actually did really well. I never expected it to really go anywhere. And it got something like 50,000 views in a couple of weeks. And then I sort of started putting out a few more videos. This would have been 2021 in August, I think. And then sort of little by little, I started to get more traction, more viewers like you. And people said they would prefer voiceover rather than just text. So I started doing voiceover and people loved it. And yeah, it's just kind of gone from there. I kind of fell into it by accident, I guess, doing a chat. I never thought of myself as being a YouTuber. I worked in marketing before, so I guess I'm used to content creation in a way, but I'd never done anything like YouTube or anything like that. But yeah, I love it, and I've not looked back since. I get to do what I love, what about the show that I love, and create videos for you all. And you all seem to like it, so thank you. And the next part of the question was, which video or interview would you like to remake? I guess I stand by all of my videos. I really like all of them. Obviously, I think when I first started doing voiceovers, I didn't necessarily script myself as much. So when I watch some of my old videos, sometimes I cringe a little bit because I can tell that I'm clearly thinking of what to say, and I go, but we all learn and everything. And I really like all my interviews. You know, my first ever interview was with Juicy Couture from Drag Race Holland, which was so lovely of her to agree to do it because at the time I had not that many subscribers, but it was really kind of her to do that. And I think that helped me sort of get a reputation and sort of snowball a little bit with the success and how many views I was getting. So that was really nice. So I'm not sure I would remake any of them because I think they were really nice. There was one interview, I think it was the Anita Wiglet interview, which is like, I loved the interview. Anita's great. I love her. But I think the sound went a bit weird. I'm not sure why. And when I listen to it back, it sounds really like tinny or something. But other than that, I actually think all my videos, I stand by them, and maybe I'll remake some of them one day. I don't know. Let me know. Would you like me to remake some of my videos? If so, let me know which ones. My next question comes from Lex the Human. Hello, Human Lex. Huge congratulations, Matt. Your content is always incredible. Thank you so much. Here's to the next milestone. My question is, are there any queens you'd love to have on your channel that you haven't had a chance to have on yet? Great question. Thank you. I think for me, I guess if I had to say my favorite queens, I love all of the queens, but if I had to say my two favorites, it's always been Bianca Del Rio and Bob the Drag Queen. You might be able to tell that I like comedy queens. So I would love to interview either of those two, preferably both. So yeah, Bob and Bianca, I've always loved them since their seasons, and I still watch their stuff now. So yeah, I think either of those two would be great. I've always loved Shea Coulee. I think she's amazing. She's like good at everything, like not only looks, sewing, acting, dancing, like literally she's amazing at everything. So she's someone I've always really liked ever since her original season. Monet Exchange, I really love. I love her and Bob's podcast. I think Monet would be a really good interview as well because she's really funny. But yeah, I kind of would like anyone on I would literally interview any of the queens. I love all of them. I think they're all so unique and different. That's what makes the show good, and they're all so talented. So I'm genuinely excited to speak to them. So I know hopefully that comes across. But yeah, I would speak to any of the queens, but I guess Bob and Bianca are kind of my top of my wish list, I guess. The next question comes from MCK. They said, what would your drag name be? And congratulations. Well, thank you for the congratulations. In terms of my drag name, I have been asked this before. A lot of people in the comments always say that I sound quite like Lady Camden. I guess because we're both British. And so Lady Camden, as I believe, obviously was from Camden, which is an area in London. And so I always thought, well, you know, maybe I should sort of take that element of it. So I thought, take the lady part. And when I first moved to London, one of the first areas I lived in was an area called Shepherd's Bush. So I thought maybe my name would be Lady Bush. Sounds funny, but I just thought I guess it sort of taking the Lady Camden element and then adding my own spin because I used to live in an area called Shepherd's Bush. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Lady Bush. The next question comes from Boosie on Instagram, and they said, what motivates you to create YouTube content? Thank you for your question. It's a great question. I guess my main motivation was always sharing my love of the show. I know that sounds like a pageant answer, but that's genuinely the answer. I just love the show so much, and I always feel like it's creating a community of like-minded fans who love the show, and everyone loves a little bit of drama, a little bit of backstage tea, or at least I do. And I guess that is what motivates me to sort of keep pushing this show and the art form that I think is so amazing, and sharing that in a way that maybe people don't know. If you just watch the show, which is amazing in itself, I think there's also a lot of really interesting backstage stuff that happens. And I think that's kind of what motivates me, and hearing from you, my subscribers, that you love my videos, that like really just means the world to me when I've spent hours making a video and then I see all the comments and people are really enjoying the video. It makes it all worth it for me. The next question also comes from Instagram, and it's from P_Wheezy415. They said, which drag queen do you feel personifies you the most and why? Great question, thank you. I've been told a few times, I've been told I sound like Lady Camden, but in terms of looks, I've been told that I actually look quite like Anita Wiglet out of drag. And I love Anita. I've met her at DragCon. She was so lovely, just the way that she comes across on screen. I interviewed her, obviously, and she was lovely. So I think she's one of those people, she seems like very, very sweet. She's always smiling. I'd like to think of myself a bit like that. She probably is nicer and smilier than I am. It depends what time in the morning you catch me and whether I've had my coffee or not. But usually I'm pretty smiley, pretty happy. And yeah, I like Anita because not only is she sort of nice, genuine, kind person, but she also has a slight shadiness, but in like a funny way, and I really like that, and I think that's kind of what I'm like. So I guess Anita would have to be my answer. And also, Anita's originally from the UK. She was born in England and then moved to New Zealand, which is why she was on Drag Race Down Under. So I guess we're technically from the same place in terms of where we were born. So maybe we have a kind of like kinship because of our Englishness. The next question comes from Danielle Escotto. Hi, Daniel. And they said, are you married? Greetings from Latin America. So hi from London to Latin America. Thanks for your question. So the answer is no, I am not married, but I do have a wonderful boyfriend who I've been with for almost 5 years this year. He's great. So yes, I'm not married, but I'm not single either. The next question is another Twitter question, and it comes from Turner Hill. Hi, Turner. They said, what's the most surreal moment since having your channel, be it meeting or interviewing a certain queen or someone mentioning your videos? Congrats on 50k. Well, thank you very much. There's been lots of really surreal moments, but I guess the ones that come to mind are the first time I got one of the queens, one of the Drag Race queens, like messaged me, like DM'd me or something, or liked one of my posts. That was really crazy. My first interview I mentioned was Juicy Couture from Drag Race Holland, and I had just finished watching Holland at the time. So when she agreed to actually do the interview, I was like, oh wow, like, it's really cool speaking to someone who I've just seen on a TV show. And then more recently, I went to DragCon. I did a video about it. I'll put a link. But I went to DragCon and I met quite a few of the queens who I had done interviews with. I'll put some pictures up. And it was really one of the most, I guess, surreal things that's ever happened to me, actually, was when I was at DragCon. Some of the queens recognized me, which is, great. And I loved that. It was so lovely. And I obviously knew quite a few of them because we'd done interviews. But even some queens who I've not ever interviewed recognized me. So, for example, Deja Sky, I had spoken to her, I think, once or twice on Instagram, and I loved her on her season. And when I walked up, she recognized me, and I really wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh my God, it was a really cool moment. She was so sweet. She was so lovely. She was so natural at doing meet and greets, and I'm pretty sure she even remembered my name. Like, she knew it was Matt something, but she couldn't remember the full name. But I was like, still blown away that she knew who I was. So that was probably the most surreal moment. And also, a few people came up to me at DragCon and asked me for a photo, like subscribers, and it was so bizarre and like kind of crazy, but also amazing. I loved meeting all of the subscribers, but it still kind of feels like a pinch me moment when people actually know who I am from my videos. So thank you so much. I almost don't have words to describe it. So the next question comes from Sally Simmons. And the question is, who's the rudest drag queen you've ever met? Oh, that's a shady question from Sally. But, I love a bit of shade. I guess I don't, unfortunately, I don't really have an answer for this because I've always just had really positive experiences with all the drag queens I met. And in the interviews, the queens have always been really nice. I've never had a problem. Some queens, obviously, I think are a bit more like naturally talkative than others, but it's not that they weren't nice, they're just more talkative. And obviously speaking to some people, maybe they're really busy or whatever, but everyone's always been really nice. At DragCon, everyone was so nice. I didn't have a bad experience at all. Everyone was lovely. So yeah, I don't really have an answer, I'm afraid, but who knows in the future. But yeah, everyone's always been really nice. So sorry, that's my miscongeniality answer, but it's true. So the next question comes from Benjamin Michaeli, I think is how you say it. They said, well deserved on the 50K. Thank you very much, Benjamin. If you could choose one queen to host a spin-off franchise who isn't already, who would you choose? Great question. I mean, there are so many franchises now, but I think I really enjoyed when Nikki Doll did the French version. And I thought that was really cool because obviously she's French. I think it would be really cool to see a version from Puerto Rico because there's a lot of Puerto Rican queens on Drag Race. And I think it would be really cool to have that a show. And I think the hosts would be Alexis Mateo and Yara Sofia. I think they would be an awesome pair to do it. And there's also lots of other Spanish-speaking contestants that have been on Drag Race, not just from Puerto Rico, but other Spanish-speaking countries. And I think Alexis Mateo did a guest spot on Drag Race España, and so did like Charitha May and I think a few other people. So I think, yeah, Alexis Mateo and Yara Sofia doing a Drag Race Puerto Rico, I think that would be so cool because they're both like so funny and kooky and they've got such great personalities. And obviously they'd be doing it in their own language and their own culture and everything. So I think that would be really cool. Next question is from Sarah Wilson. Hi, Sarah. Sarah said, do you already know when recording which pronunciation of a word will create some controversy? So, yeah, I'm sure many of you have seen. So this whole word controversy, that's just how I pronounce it because it's like the British version. So we don't say controversy, we say controversy. Although that word, it's kind of ironic. It caused a lot of controversy when I said it in, I think it was the first Todrick Hall video I ever did. I didn't even think about it. And people in the comments were going like, oh my, how do you pronounce the word controversy or controversy? And I think because I watch a lot of American TV, I think I did say it a few times in the American way of controversy. But technically, if you look it up in the dictionary, because I did, the British way is controversy. I didn't say it deliberately, but now I feel like it's kind of become my thing. So I do say it. I also sell mugs that say controversy on it, which you can buy on my shop, on my YouTube. And I kind of did that because it was kind of funny because so many people were commenting. And like I said, it's kind of become my thing now. So yeah, I'm happy causing controversy by the way I pronounce words. And my last question comes from Tia Tamara, I think is how you say it. And they said, your most unpopular Drag Race opinion. Ooh, this could be interesting. I didn't prepare these answers for this video, but obviously I did choose these questions. So I was kind of thinking in my head, well, what is my most unpopular Drag Race opinion? And I think for me, one of the things I've thought for a while, and I don't know how unpopular it is, let me know in the comments. I think personally, having 16 queens on a season is just too many queens. I know why they do it, because obviously it gives opportunities to more queens. But this season, season 15, especially with the shortened episodes, I just feel like you don't get to really know the queens that well because there's just so many of them. So I kind of think back to the original seasons that maybe had 10, 12 queens, something like that. I feel like that was maybe a better number because you really got to know the queens and there was more room for different storylines and things like that. I think having 16, in my opinion, is just a little bit too many. And it just means that you don't really get to know them as well. And I really like to get to know the queens. So yeah, I don't know how unpopular that is. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me or if it is that unpopular. But yeah, I guess that would be my most unpopular Drag Race opinion. And let me know what yours is in the comments. So there you go. There was my 50k Q&A. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted questions. Sorry if I couldn't get round to yours, but unfortunately I couldn't go through all of them. But I really so much appreciate all of the people that subscribe to my channel. It's been amazing doing this channel for you. Like, it still kind of feels like a dream. It doesn't feel real that I'm getting to do these videos about my favorite TV show for all of you. I absolutely love doing it. I love all of your comments. So thank you so much for your support. It really does mean so much to me. And in case you don't know, I do have a Patreon. So if you would like to support me on Patreon and get access to my videos, you get early access before they go on YouTube. And you also get other benefits like shout outs in my videos, written mentions in the video at the end of my videos, as well as things like priority when submitting interview questions. And you also get a DM chat and you can talk to me about Drag Race or whatever else you want to talk about. And I'll put a link in the description if you'd like to support me on Patreon. And I'd also like to give a shout out to my newest patron who joined me in the You're a Winner Baby tier, Sunshine. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon. I really appreciate all of my patrons. You're all so amazing. And it really does just blow me away, the support that I get. Please make sure you like, comment and share this video as it really helps support my channel. And of course, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date about new uploads. Thanks for watching and I hope you'll join me again in future videos. Thank you, bye!